Ford promises both big power and decent fuel economy out of their 3.5 liter EcoBoost here in the F-150. But how does that translate in real-world figures? Tonight we're going to find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Tonight we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2023 Ford F-150 with the 3.5 EcoBoost. In this test, we're going to head out and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour to get a realistic fuel economy number for this full-size truck. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Right off the bat, I should mention this is an XLT trim. We got the 5.5-foot bed, full crew cab, 355 axle ratio, and what are these, 20s? Dynapro AT2 tires, so we don't have the FX4 package. Yep, 20-inch tires, wheels and tires, I should say, wheels. It's the Heritage model, is what this one is. So, coming with a good amount of goodies. Maybe not quite as much as you'd get in one of the Lariat or King Ranch or Limited or Platinum trims. They sure have a lot of trims of F-150s now. But this is going to provide you more than you need to do an honest day's work. If you do want to see more on the truck, check the link in the description. We got our full review where we picked up some furniture, and we've got infotainment breakdown, sound system test. All of those will be linked below. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this truck I have broken the shifter. There we go. Which gives this truck 23 miles per gallon. That test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are people who use their vehicles for big miles on the highway and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. So in order to test that out, we're going to head over to the gas station here. We're going to fill up, go out and do 100 miles, come back, fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. Now, a few things to note for today. The outside temperature is currently 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Our tire pressures have been set to their door placard 35 psi cold. And we're going to run the climate control at 73 degrees auto. So far, for me, the truck's been pretty thirsty, 15.5 miles per gallon over the last 156 miles. But I don't really like to report on that number too much because that includes some sitting and idling while I'm shooting videos and a good amount of stopping and starting. So I think this will be a more accurate figure for us. All right, let's hop out and fill it up. Now, I should note, we're going to be running regular fuel for this test. This engine might want premium if you're doing something like towing or some really hard driving, but regular is going to be just fine for cruising on the highway. 11.647 gallons going in for our first fill. Should mention this truck has the optional 36-gallon fuel tank. Before actually starting the engine, we're going to reset the car's trip computer here. We've got our GPS reset. We're going to get our climate control set to 73. A lot of drive modes here in the F-150. We have, starting from the left, mud and ruts, steep snow sand, slippery, normal, tow haul, eco, and sport. We're going to run this test in eco, and we're also running it in 2-wheel drive. This is a 4-wheel drive model, but we're not running it in 4 high or 4 low. We're going to take it nice and easy over the highway. It's about 0.2 miles away, and pick up the test from there. Now, the goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy out of this, but just rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, we're going to get up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace. We're going to set our cruise control at a GPS indicated 71 miles per hour. That should give us a 70 mile per hour average over the whole trip. Now, some of you might remember that we used to do 72 mile per hour averages, but our speeds are a little bit easier to keep up here on these highways. Not stuck behind as many semi-trucks. It does look like the car speedometer is about 1 mile per hour behind the GPS, or rather in front of. Well, no, actually we're looking pretty accurate. So if we drop down to 71 here on the dash, well, we're getting 70 on the GPS, so I actually don't quite know what's going on. Either way, something that's impressed me about the F-150 the whole week I've had it is how quiet it is inside. We've got dual pane glass, and it's a little louder right now with the shade open above us, but let me get that closed. You'll see this is a pretty quiet place to be. We're on a concrete highway right now. There's a lot of traffic around us, and still fairly isolated in here, so that's been impressive. Also, these seats are remarkably comfortable. I'm curious how they're going to be after an hour and a half in the saddle, but so far the whole week I've had the truck, Alyssa and I have both been impressed by the comfort of the seats. So I'm going to continue on with the rest of the test and catch up with you at the end. I'm going to test out this 6-speaker sound system with some members-only tracks. And in the meantime, take a look at this time-lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the F-150. Just barely squeezing into the EPA's number. We're at 22.5 MPG according to the vehicle's trip readout. Had a nice smooth run, 96 miles at this point. We've averaged 70 miles per hour. No big surprise, I'm comfortable in here. Again, these seats nice and squishy, maybe not quite as supportive as you might want in the seat bottom, but all things considered, I'm pretty comfortable here, and we've still got two-way lumbar support adjustment as well. Sound system, meh, not fantastic. Did a lot of members-only tracks, and at $70,000, I wish the B&O just kind of came with this Heritage package, but I'm sure they're dealing with some sort of chip shortage issue. The active lane keeping works pretty darn well. Yeah, you do have to pay attention. There's a very subtle keep your hands on the wheel screen that comes up, even if you do have your hand on the wheel and you're just not giving much pressure to the steering wheel. If you're on a very straight section of road, you might find it beeping at you a little bit more often than you would like it to, but overall it does work well. Pretty confident. Adaptive cruise pretty good also. Not really any annoyances, honestly. Like I said, this thing's really quiet, it's comfortable. I'm curious to know from any current generation F-150 owners if you find the seats being particularly comfortable after a long road trip. So we're going to get this thing back to the pump, fill it up, and see what our pump calculations are. But it's interesting to note that we did this test with the GMC Yukon Denali Ultimate recently that has the 6.2 V8, and we also squeezed out 22 miles per gallon. So, I don't know, just it'll be interesting to see if this gets out to about the same, because personally, I'd rather have a 6.2 naturally aspirated V8 over this 3.5, but then again, that motor's got cylinder deactivation, this doesn't. I don't know, bit of a toss-up. So, either way, let's get it back, see what we get. 4.753 gallons going in for our final fill. I think that's going to be right about around what the trip readout was. 100 miles traveled divided by that 4.753 gallons, giving us, actually quite a bit lower than the trip readout, 21 miles per gallon flat. So we're getting 22.7 on the readout there and 21 here. Should we split the difference and say 22? I don't think so. I think this is a pretty optimistic loop, and we had some pretty clean fills there. So I'm going 21 MPG here for the F-150 3.5 crew cab, 355 gears, and 5.5 foot bed. Maybe if the dash had read 23, then we'd split the difference, but I think that 21 is going to be a pretty safely achievable number for you. However, we do have that large 36-gallon fuel tank, which I think is awesome. 36 gallons times 21 miles per gallon, still giving you an effective highway cruising range of 750 miles here in the F-150. That is pretty cool. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the F-150 here, check the link in the description. Someday I'll try to get one of the V6, not V6s, but either the 2 points, what is it, a 2.7 that they make, and then also like a 3.3 naturally aspirated. I'd love to try to get those. Hey, I'd love to try to get the 5-liter as well, but Ford's always pushing this 3.5 EcoBoost. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.